Hello everyone, it's day 10 of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu presidency, and we're monitoring developments closely in his first 100 days in office. Thank you for joining us on the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. You can join the conversation live on Twitter with the hashtag first 100 days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG and at Nifemi Oguntoye. Let's begin with some updates from the presidential villa, where today President Bola Tinubu met with Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang and his Akwa Ibom State counterpart, Pastor Omo Eno, looking forward to a cordial and constructive relationship with all 36 governors to build a safe and prosperous Nigeria for all.
My deputy governor distributed some palliatives to all the local government. And as I go back, I'm scheduled to have a meeting with all the petroleum marketers in Akwa Ibom. So we're looking at those ways, whatever we need to do to, and the president has directed that state governors, of course, should work on palliatives for the citizenry. We'll do just that. There are a number of things, and as we get into early next week, if we focus on Akwa Ibom, you'll see the various things we are going to put in place to support our people. We'll need the president to help us intervene, and let's get that, finish the road. We talked about our Ibom deep sea port. We will need the president to also intervene, and let's get the seaport. I also mentioned to him the export license, the free zone for our airport, so that we can, the maintenance, repairs, and overhauling facility there, will be able, we can bring in spare parts to service the airplanes. These are strategic partnerships that we want with the federal government. So I talked about it, and he has promised to look into it.
Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno there. And former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has led the group once referred to as the G5 governors in the build-up to the 2023 presidential election to meet President Bola Tinubu in the presidential villa. Other members of the group are Governor of Oyo State Seyi Makinde, former Governor of Benue State Samuel Otom, former Governor of Enugu State Ifeanyi Ogwuanyi, and former Governor of Abia State Okeze Ikpeazu. Well, this group are members of the opposition People's Democratic Party that disagreed with the decision of their party to pick a northern presidential candidate against the principle of power shift to the south. For the former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike and Governor Seyi Makinde, this is not the first time they will be given audience by President Tinubu after he was sworn in on the 29th of May. But this is the first time the group will be meeting President Tinubu formally. Let's speak to State House correspondent Femi Akonde, who joins me live from the presidential villa. This meeting, let's begin with the meeting the president had with the two current governors of the opposition party. It's generating quite some reactions, Femi, considering that the PDP is challenging the president's victory in court. I'm wondering what more you've gathered as to the motive behind this visit.
Yes, and if without prejudice to what is happening in court, the governor of Akwa Ibom State told State House correspondents that politics is over, that it is time for governance. And that is one of the reasons why he came to see President Bola Tinubu, because he needs to strengthen partnership with the federal government. There are a lot of projects he would like to embark on in his state. And without the support of the federal government, not all of this can be achieved. He campaigned, made promises to his people, and he knows that working with the federal government would help him meet the expectations of his people. You know, he also said that, you know, he supports the federal government's decision to fully implement the withdrawal of petrol subsidy, and in his own state, he's already putting measures in place by providing interventions that would help the people cushion the impact caused by that's the hardship caused by the removal of petrol subsidy. And he is saying that, you know, what everyone needs now is to come together. And what President Tinubu also is trying to do is to blur political boundaries that once existed. It's irrespective of their political parties. President Bola Tinubu has thrown his doors open as the president of Nigeria to all governors, and we have been seeing them coming in to see him. Just today, we had, the governor of Plateau State, who is from the PDP, the governor of Akwa Ibom State from the PDP, the governor of Enugu State, Peter Mbah, also from the PDP, and indeed the PDP G5 governors. They all came in to see President Bola Tinubu separately. The governor of Enugu State met with President Tinubu, and he said that one of the demands he presented to Mr. President is the Southeast demand for the release of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. He says, President Tinubu promised not to be a dictator, to listen to all sides and to carry everyone along. So in line with that statement of Mr. President, he is appealing that indeed the president considers the unconditional release of Nnamdi Kanu. It would also be a way of easing tension in the country, the tension that enveloped the country in the build-up to the election, because President Tinubu has been talking about national healing, taking the country through that path of healing and reconciliation. So the Enugu State governor says he strongly believes that the release of Nnamdi Kanu would also help fast-track the achievement of that healing that Mr. President desperately seeks to achieve. So we have been seeing all of these meetings, and some people have said that, well, for President Tinubu now, he also understands that elections are over and he has become politically blind. It doesn't matter which party the governors were elected on, be it the Labour Party, the People's Democratic Party. He is the president of Nigeria, and he is the president of all. Nifemi.
Absolutely. He's also been talking about forming a government of national unity. And perhaps this is the body language we're receiving from President Tinubu. But let's talk about the governors we used to call the G5 governors, led by the former Rivers State governor, to the presidential villa today. I'm wondering how much political capital you think they're bringing to a villa where Bola Tinubu is president. And I'm talking precisely about the other three, apart from Wike and Makinde.
Well, they all maintained one stand. They were on the same page when they stood against the decision of the People's Democratic Party to pick a northern presidential candidate. They insisted that power must shift to the south, according to the declaration they signed in Asaba. They maintained that stand against the decision of their party. So them coming to the presidential villa today to meet with President Tinubu, they say it's first to congratulate him on his victory and also his successful inauguration, and also to remind him of their stand on justice, equity, and fairness. So what it means is that moving forward, they also expect the president to reciprocate in terms of ensuring that in discharging his duties as president, he also upholds the principles of equity, fairness, and justice. And President Bola Tinubu has promised to run an inclusive government. You know that he's trying to set up his cabinet. He is consulting far and wide, talking to everybody. He's making careful steps to ensure that there are no missteps as he goes through the journey of governance. So we also believe that he would have also listened to some of these governors, including the PDP governors, because it is politically expedient for him to also listen to them, to also hear and even take suggestions from them in terms of people he would nominate to be in his cabinet. You know that the 36 states of the country will have to be represented in the federal cabinet. At least one person from each state will be represented in the federal cabinet. And the governors who are leaders of the state, political leaders of the state, should also have a say. In some cases where the governor does not belong to the party of the president, they are usually sidelined. But it appears President Bola Tinubu is consulting widely beyond the shores of the All Progressives Congress, his party. He's reaching out to people in the People's Democratic Party, listening to them, listening to their own ideas of nation building, and we believe that he would collate all of these, and then we'll begin to see the full implementation and manifestation of all of these, of the result of all of these consultations that he has been embarking on as soon as he sets down to form his cabinet. That is after ministers would have been screened by the Senate. Nifemi.
Is there a sense to which we can say that these 5 individuals are speaking for the PDP, given the political role they have played prior to the election? We know for a fact that the former Rivers State governor and the current Oyo State governor, we know what their allegiance were during that election. The former Benue State governor came out publicly to throw his weight behind the candidate of the Labour Party. Would you say that the interest of the PDP is represented at the meeting with Mr. President?
Well, you know, these G5 governors, as they were once referred to, had a fallout with their party, the People's Democratic Party. So I do not think they speak for the PDP. I do not think they represent the PDP because, well, they are still members of the People's Democratic Party. They still have some followership, strong followership, I would say, in the PDP, and they have the backing of even some members of the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party. But we do not know if indeed they were there to represent the interests of the opposition People's Democratic Party in their meeting with President Bola Tinubu. But one thing Governor Seyi Makinde told a State House correspondent after that meeting is that they were just here to talk to the president, to talk on issues of nation building. He says it's a continuous process. It's a conversation that never ends. And so it shouldn't be a surprise for people to see them coming to the presidential villa to speak with the president. He says, as leaders, both at the state level and at the federal level, they are all interested in the growth and development of the country. And anytime they have an opportunity to meet, that is what is most prominent on their minds, and that is what dominates their discussion. So this is exactly what they have come to talk about. But we do not know what happens from here. So there are different speculations and insinuations out there, but for now, nothing is clear. Some people have even said maybe some of them might cross carpets, some of them might jump ship, abandon their party and move to the All Progressives Congress. But you know, Governor Wike too has said that that is not on the books for now. And a lot of people are also saying maybe they might also, some of them might form part of President Tinubu's government, since he's interested in forming a government of national unity, ensuring inclusion, that maybe perhaps he would reach out to some of these G5 governors who believed in his agenda, in his plans, in his renewed hope manifesto, and ditched their party to support President Tinubu.
You just can't tell what is cooking for the former Rivers State governor. This is perhaps the 3rd time he is visiting the presidential villa in the past 10 days. Femi Akode live for us at the presidential villa. Thank you for talking to us this hour. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll turn our attention to the full subsidy removal. Stay with us.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu do solemnly swear
Well, the issue of fuel subsidy removal is a debate that will continue to elicit reactions from Nigerians until we begin to see the government intervention that has been talked about that is expected to cushion the effect of this removal. Just yesterday, the president met oil marketers in the country seeking solution to the effect of the removal. As part of the resolution, the president directed the National Economic Council, headed by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, to propose interventions on the subsidy removal. I'm joined now by public relations expert Jide Ologun for more on this conversation. Mr. Ologun, good to see you again. Let's begin with how you think the Tinubu government is faring in its public relations as it regards the removal of fuel subsidy. Would you say that government is communicating enough with the Nigerian people in this regard?
Thank you very much for that brilliant question. See, from what we have monitored so far, let's start from the stakeholders' engagement. It's quite interesting that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed, good professional engagement, and even getting all the governors in the country to queue behind that decision to remove fuel subsidy. Some would have expected that the governors who are in opposition parties may not be in support, and that means he has been able to sell the message, the intention to them. And don't forget that back in time, he himself was mobile, so he's quite conversant with the mathematics and the economics of the oil and gas. And again, the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC suspended their strike over the fuel subsidy. And they said that they are doing that because they intend to meet the federal government again on June 19, 2023 to agree on implementation framework. And you can see, for instance, that in some parts of the country, some governors are beginning to fall in line by providing palliative measures, particularly not in cash. But for example, in Kwara State, the governor has declared 3-day work in a week, and then in Edo State also. And if you now come back to the oil and gas specifically, you find the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, telling the president that we are behind you in this. And it will amaze Nigerians that some of the issues we have been raising in the past is being echoed again. For instance, Nigeria is reported to have spent, about 2 trillion naira in the first 3 months of 2023. And if that subsidy continues, that would have brought us about 7 trillion naira at the end of the year. And again, if you look at the ripple effect in some neighboring countries, Benin Republic is being forced to adjust the PMS pump price over there because reportedly we have some neighboring countries like Niger, like Sudan, by extension, Somalia, Benin Republic, even Cameroon, feeding fat on the resources of Nigeria, because the revelations we are getting, though not new to some of us, is that after some of the figures for subsidies are inflated here in Nigeria, and these scammers collect the so-called subsidy, they still smuggle these products out of the country to sell. So, and for some of us who have also monitored in the society, citizens are adjusting to this reality. And let me say this, when you mention the word palliative, it means a medicine or form of medical care that relieves symptoms without dealing with the cause of the condition. So we have fundamental problems in Nigeria in our oil and gas that we must deal with. But the elders have a saying that when trees fall upon each other, you first remove the one at the top. And, I made reference to the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association. They have also donated about 100 mass transit buses worth about 10 billion reportedly to the federal government to cushion the effect of subsidy removal. So what we expect to see going down the lane is that the economy will adjust, the society will adjust, and we would have succeeded in getting the hands of this cabal.
I hear you, Mr. Logo. Talking about,
yes,
adjustment to the new price, we've seen a lot of negotiation going on between the federal government and organized labor. And I want us to just turn our attention to that list of agreement they had a few days ago. Top on the list would be the minimum wage adjustment, the need to increase just how much the workers collect as salaries. TUC is asking for as high as 200,000 naira. But this is largely dependent on the cooperation of state governors, because as we speak, some governors have not even paid the 30,000 naira minimum wage. How do you expect governors to, what kind of involvement and engagement do you expect from governors in this regard?
Personally, I do not see the increase in the minimum wage, though it's helpful in helping us to provide sufficient palliative. Maybe you try and ease the transportation and engage the transporters on, achieving that. Because by the time you increase, let's assume now that you increase the minimum wage to 200,000 as demanded. To the market woman who is not in the formal sector, that is increase in dispensable revenue for workers. So what happens? It adds to the inflationary rate that we have in the market. So let's begin to deal with the HR aspect of it. What relief can we bring to the people, in supporting them in the area of transportation? Like I said now, in the area of embarking on this hybrid work situation, which of course some experimented during the COVID-19 lockdown. So there will be a lot of adjustments. And I know that the governor of Kwara State has increased the minimum wage in is it Kwara or Edo State now? Edo State to 40,000 naira as against. Yes. So, and the government should also look at what was, available in the country years ago. Talking about price control, you see, it's important. And I think this is the time now to look at the infrastructure we have in the country and diversify, particularly transportation. Again, it's important that the president and his team should look at the energy sector, because I've heard some people comment lately that it's as if electricity supply has improved. So, and don't forget also there are some neighboring countries that will supply electricity. So let's for once focus on delivering good governance to Nigeria. Yeah. And if neighboring countries want to leverage on that, it should not be at a parasitic level.
Indeed.
It will be at a collaborative level. This country is too blessed for us to be where we are.
We shouldn't be excited yet with the power supply, because, you have to remember that it's raining season. We might have to wait to see out across seasons. But I spoke with the group CEO of the NNPC Limited a few days ago, and he was talking about the fact that the retail price of petrol will now be determined by the interplay of market forces. Nigerians don't believe it, because they say when the prices go up in this part of the world, it just do not come down. Are you optimistic that international price will determine how much Nigerians exchange for a liter of petrol?
Absolutely. I'm optimistic. And we have precedents, like you say, in law. Recall that when GSM came into Nigeria, I think a SIM card was about 58,000 naira for those who initially logged in to that device. Today, it's about 100 naira. In fact, some give this SIM card out, as gifts during their parties. All right. So the market forces will bring down the price. And right now it's beginning to happen. For example, demand for PMS has reduced in Lagos State, for instance. I can speak for Lagos State because many people have parked their vehicles, and that's what I meant by people adjusting. So when the demand, reduces, the marketers also, they have to remain in business. And don't forget, they say necessity is the mother of invention. There are other options that will be available to citizens. But as stated by the president, subsidy is gone. And I know that the most pained stakeholder in this is the cabal that have sat on our resources for so long in this nation. And again, I should bring in the apex regime, talking about the apex regime of the nation. If we have a unified foreign exchange status, it will also help us, so that those who also go to the CBN, get dollar at 460 and go to the black market to sell at 750, we no longer have access to that. And NNPC Limited will no longer be the monopolist, only the importing fuel into this country. Marketers will now be able to access funds and import. So I expect, and I'm optimistic, that the market forces will adjust the situation as we go down this lane. And like the wise people say, that no pain, no gain. For decades, governments have been trying to yank off this subsidy, but it appears that those who are the chief priests of the subsidy scam in Nigeria have been so powerful. For once, let's go ahead and deal with them. And when we now do that, we come back to how to revive our refining capacity, because like I said earlier, palliative is just dealing with the symptoms, not with the fundamental.
And I'm sure the federal government has also, chosen their words carefully. It's perhaps why they have chosen the word intervention. But we'll see how all of this play out in the coming days, particularly the ripple effect that has been promised on the other, aspects of the economy. We're counting on it, and Nigerians are also quite hopeful. Public relations expert Jido Logun, thank you so much for talking to us on the first 100 days.
Thank you so much, too. God bless Nigeria.
That's our program today. You can watch a repeat broadcast at 12 midnight and at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.